Hi, everyone. How is it going? Welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. Happy Monday. Yes, it's Monday. It's Monday evening, and I'm just recording now. This last this last bit has been extra, I guess, full, busy. I try to find different words for busy, but I guess it's just been busy. I've been working a string of overtime, and then today was my first normal shift. So I'm working like, I don't know, 7 out of 8 days or something. Anyway, we just got back from vacation, and then we're kind of getting turned around. So I had kind of pre-recorded and scheduled a couple episodes to help when we were gone, and then my intention was to record before today. However, in the interest of striking a balance between work and life, like, personal life outside of work, I decided last night that I was just gonna go to bed. I was tired when I got home. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about is that I want to talk about today. Over the last month and definitely like right now looking at August, my focus and thoughts and intentions have been very much on balance and prioritizing and striking that happy medium between working because this time of year, if you've been following along, I work for the Coast Guard and I assist search and rescue operations with through radio communications. And then on the other side of the room, I help commercial vessels transit the waterway safely. So needless to say, this is a busy time of year for us. We are short-staffed, which means lots of overtime. And we all it's kind of like an all hands on deck situation so that everyone can get a break in the summer, have time off, so we cover for each other, right? And July wasn't July wasn't too bad for me. I think I worked like 3 overtime shifts. It's kind of how it shakes out sometimes. Whereas this month I have 8. So I just worked 3. I have another 3 after we get back from vacation, like camping with Eric's family, and then I have another 2 at the very end of the month. So having just come off of a fairly busy, full July, and that also included us being away. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. We did a big boat trip, which Eric and I, and it was magnificent. I feel so privileged and lucky that we were able to do something like this. Basically, we went down the St. Clair River, through Lake St. Clair, the Detroit River, into Lake Erie, and we went kind of island hopping on the South Shore and like the Western Basin. So we started out on Pelee. We had a few days with Eric's parents. They came with us, so we spent a night in Detroit on our way down and then hung out on Pelee. And we stayed on the boat and they had a cottage, which was super cool. We had bikes. We rented a golf cart for the day just to kind of tour the island because Eric and I rode the island on bikes 3 years ago and it's totally doable, of course, but it was tiring, especially with how hot it was at that time and when we were there. So we did it kind of like did a little bit of a hybrid. We did some biking, but not the entire island. We just like a few parts, and then the other day we just kind of like took the golf cart. So every day we were gone it was busy. Like we were exploring and we kind of by the end of it, like when we got home, I was thinking like my soul cup is so full and overflowing, but my body is so tired. Like in that sense, I needed a vacation for my vacation, just in the sense of like visit like my physical body. We did a lot of walking. We put a lot of steps in, and we walked over 120,000 steps that week. I think we averaged like 17,000 a day or something. And the one day, so after we did the 3 nights at Pelee, Sorry, I'm like all jazzed up, which is a good thing because normally I'm super tired this time of night and can't string a sentence, but I'm doing okay. We spent some time at Peely, dropped his parents off at the ferry, and then we headed to Kelly's Island. We explored Kelly's Island with we were renting golf carts everywhere because it kind of made things a little easier. We do now have one foldable bike, but we got it like right before our trip, so we don't have two yet. So anyway, one of these days we'll maybe get a second one or get scooters. I don't know, we'll figure it out. So we explored Kelly's Island, which was really cool. Spent a night there. And then we headed to Cedar Point, which, if you don't know Cedar Point, it's an amusement park just outside of Sandusky, Ohio. And we spent 2 nights there. By the time we got to Cedar Point, we got there Saturday. So we left Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we'd been gone 5 days and like on the go, exploring, seeing all the cool things, like super soul nourishing, but super active. And the idea, we kind of decided like we'll get to Cedar Point, we'll just kind of have a bit of a down day. We'll like, do some laundry, relax. Well, we did laundry. The laundry was a 5-minute walk from where our boat was one way, and had a couple hiccups on the way, like when I did I did like towels and all the things, right? So I actually did like two loads at the same time, and the first load didn't actually start. So when I went back to switch them to the dryer, I had to wait another half hour. And by that time, we had decided we would do like a part day at Cedar Point to ride the coasters and then do like the full day the next day. So we were kind of like, now we gotta wait an extra half hour. Anyway, it was okay. It all worked out. We had an amazing time at the park. It was really neat being kind of right there because for one, we didn't have to eat at the park. We could just come back to the boat and make our meals and just have kind of a little nap. We did that a couple, or rest or whatever. And that day we walked like, I think my Fitbit said we had like 26,000 steps. Like we were either standing or walking most for 13 hours. We had a 13-hour day because if you stay at the marina or at the hotel, you can get an entry to the park an hour early. So we did that. We were in the park just after 9 and we rode some of the coasters. So we had a good 13-hour day standing and walking and riding and all the things. It was super incredible. And then when we left Cedar Point, we went to South Bass Island, otherwise known as Put-in Bay. Checked that out, which was super cool. It was like pouring rain when we arrived, but it kind of cleared up. We had really great weather while we were away. It didn't cramp our style too much. Mostly, most of the rain was while we were actually in transit on the water, so not like super fun time, but it was better than when we wanted to be exploring. And Put-in Bay has this really cool, it's called a crystal cave. It's literally like a geode in the earth, and it's a tourist attraction. It's a winery that's been in, it's like 5 or 6 generations, which is super cool. And so we checked the geo, went down into the cave, and it's celestite, which is my favorite crystal. So I was like taking videos and photos and totally nerding out. I've been wanting to go there for years, like ever since I saw that it's a thing. I was like, oh my God, I have to get to Put-in Bay and check out this crystal cave. So it was like a little bucket list thing, which was super cool. And yeah, we spent a night at Put-in Bay. And then the next day we were gonna start heading home. So we actually dipped south a little bit just to fill up, like fuel, and then get on our way. We had the storms along the way. And then we just decided instead of anchoring for the night and getting home the next day, we're just gonna get home. So that was nice. Um, and then I had one day in between before I started back to work, which I ended up kind of on the road and visiting a couple friends, which again is very soul nourishing, but not terribly relaxing, right? Then I worked overtime. Yeah. And then pretty much brings us to here. So needless to say, I haven't had a lot of downtime, but in the downtime, just kind of, reflecting back on how have things changed? How how, if at all, do I feel different from before we left? Like taking that kind of an inventory, right? And just thinking like, how am I feeling now compared to how I was feeling before? Before, although I hadn't worked a lot of overtime in July, there was other stuff going on that was kind of just eating away at me a little bit, I guess. And that starts to that starts to chip away at our resilience, right? And we start to maybe get a little bit more irritable and a little bit more, passive aggressive about things from time to time. And to be honest, it was interesting. I didn't even realize how kind of far down that path I was until I got back and was thinking about like, how do I feel now compared to how I was feeling before we left? Like, what did this time off and this exploring and quality time, what did it provide me with? And how do I feel now? And that's when I really realized how I was really feeling before we left. And I feel refreshed. I feel more neutral to things that would have probably had me being a little bit like being not a little bit, but just being reactive towards. And I just find I can kind of roll with the punches a little bit more and they're not affecting me as much, which is interesting because I think especially if it's a bit of like a slow slope down, you don't even realize kind of that you're like getting into that maybe headspace or mindset until you actually remove yourself from it and then look back and go, hey, I was actually over there. So now that I've had that realization, I'm more mindful of conversations I'm having and if I'm reacting to things and if I'm getting a little reactive, kind of taking that step back and noticing it a little bit sooner. So that was one of the, I guess, blessings from the our trip. And knowing that pretty much as soon as we were getting back, I would be getting into 3 overtime shifts with 1 day in between and it's a long weekend. So my husband's at the boat, our friends are at the boat. I want to spend time with them, but I'm on days. So I get off work at, 6:45 or whatever. Whenever shift change happens, it's kind of depends on when people get there. And I gotta be back up at 5:15 in the morning the next morning. So when I was saying at the beginning, when I was talking about the importance of prioritizing the balance, I really had to take some time, not a lot, because I've gotten to really know my body and what it needs, but checking in on myself and saying, okay, let's be proactive with this, knowing like looking at my calendar and seeing the 8 overtime shifts among like my normal shifts. I do have about 10 days off kind of in the middle of the month where we're going on another little like weekend boat outing and then straight to camping. So there's lots of like rollover there too, right? So it'll be also very active, but once we get like to the campsite and set up, we'll be able to have some downtime, just family time, hanging out, reading, whatever, sleeping in. So that'll be lovely. Knowing that it was going to be a full month, I had to kind of have that conversation with myself and go, okay, well, how can I best mitigate the hours that I'll be working and how I know that my body gets run down if I don't get sleep. And if you listen to the sleep um, class, one of the previous episodes, I talked about sleep, the importance in cell regeneration, and just like it really is what our body needs every night to thrive more than just survive. And sleep is that for me. I need my sleep. I have been mindful about movement and shifting into better habits, making better choices with nutrition as well. It's summer, so you kind of indulge in stuff too. But there's been some times where I'm like, I want to go for ice cream on my way home. And I just think like, what treats have I had today? Well, I had an ice cap this morning and, I had a couple cookies in my lunch. So, you know what? I think I'm good. I'm gonna just go home and relax. And I never regretted it. So it's just like kind of creating that gap between the, the impulsive want that I have and deciding, is it something I need or is it just something I want? And then having that discernment. And it's not to say that I'm never going to give myself, a treat at night, but I did a couple times earlier in the week or whatever, right? So it's like, I don't need this every night, obviously. But I think sometimes, I don't know, there's just something subconscious there that I'm working through. Anyway, this is how I kind of mitigate it. So sleep has been a priority. The last few days that I've been working, I come off days, head to the boat, have some social time with my friends and my husband, and then just like look at the clock and say, hey, I gotta get home and just do my routine. Now, some of the friends said, like, oh, are you gonna sleep on the boat tonight? There was one night I just sleep on the boat. And then after that, I decided I'm just gonna go home every night because, well, for one, the night I did sleep on the boat, I woke up at 4 for whatever reason and couldn't sleep after that. So I was so exhausted. And I just made the decision, I need to keep my body healthy because when we work this many hours and just the nature of my work, it can be very loud in the room. It's like very it's very mentally taxing. So I have to be mindful of that and put the tools in place to mitigate it. And sleep is the biggest tool for me. And getting a good sleep. So that's coming home, that's having a warm shower just at my home and not at the marina, and getting in my comfies and just laying in bed until lights out and reading, turning out like putting my phone on the bedside table, reading, and then turning lights out. That has been very helpful for me. And it's required boundaries around that, right? So I'm not just scrolling until whatever time and then not getting sleep, right? Sometimes I get to bed a little late because I'm reading in like my book, but I figure it's probably better than looking at a screen with that blue light, right? So that's kind of been the big theme for me over the last month. And also keeping that practice in the morning when I wake up. Now it's shifted a little bit. I haven't done a morning meditation, like a guided one in a while, couple weeks anyway. But what I've been doing in the morning is when my alarm goes off, I just start doing some conscious breathing and kind of, I don't need any words to guide me, but just doing my own breathing. And what's interesting is the one morning I had this desire to put one hand over my heart, one hand kind of on my belly, take deep, full breaths into my stomach, like my belly and my chest. And I was doing a bit of an affirmation, I guess. And I was saying on the inhale to myself, I am safe. And on the exhale, I was saying, I am worthy. And starting to have that bit of a dialogue with myself because um, I know there's some patterns that I want to kind of rewire. And the words just came to me and it felt like it was something I needed to do and it felt really lovely. So I just kind of went with it. It's those soul nudges, right? That intuition. And with that, I also wanted to mention that is part of this also like pull or desire to really focus on my nervous system health. Because what I've been noticing is I love this podcast. I love recording. I give myself grace if I need to, record on the day of or in that evening or the next day, whatever, or I miss a week. It's okay because life happens and we have to make choices and not make ourselves wrong about it. But I also I lost my train of thought there for a second. The other part of it is in my Living on Lemonade community and the events and the soul care hours and stuff that I also schedule in there. I've been trying to kind of build the community a little bit, creating some more content. And what I've been noticing is I've been lacking some, what's the word? Like the oomph to just get it done, right? The inspiration. And usually I love creating content, but I've knowing that about myself and feeling this like, ooh, it feels like I'm kind of like pulling myself through to get it done has made me get curious. And what I've kind of been thinking about is the need to expand my nervous system capacity so that I feel naturally like I have more room to do more things. And in the meantime, you can't force it. You have to do it in kind of an organic, holistic way, right? But in the meantime, I keep my to-do list, and maybe I don't get all the things done, or even, I might only have 3 and I get 1 thing done, but celebrating that and just, like, putting it perhaps I'll do it the next day, we'll see how I feel, and if it doesn't get done, I don't make it wrong, it's just like, well, it's not I have the foundation of the post done and stuff. If I don't get things done, if I miss 1 thing, it's not a big deal, right? Because I am trying to build it and create more content, so just be mindful of that. If you find that you're in a season of it feels like you are pulling the weight of a lot of stuff, and those things are things you normally enjoy doing, or found joy with, check in with yourself. Are you feeling a little bit burnt out? Are you just uninspired? Like, what do you need? Do you need more sleep? Do you need to tweak your like nutrition, get more movement? Do you need to reconnect with something else that brings you joy that will kind of build a little bit of that room? Just start asking yourself some of those questions and be gentle on yourself. It's like there's no rush to get anywhere. That's the trick of the ego. Um, you'll get there. And especially if it's soul led, like it's not a race. If you feel pulled to do something, it doesn't matter how long it takes because you know that it's about the journey and the impact that you can make and how you feel along the way. So just make sure that you're doing the things for yourself so it doesn't feel like a chore, because then that takes away from the whole reason you're doing it, right? Anywho, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna turn it off. I don't know how long it's been, but I'm gonna get this uploaded. Coming up, I always forget to like put the dates and stuff in front of me before I record, so that I'm scrambling. Anywho, if you happen to see this before tomorrow night, which will be Tuesday night at 8 p.m., August 6th, we're doing Soul Care Hour inside the Living on Lemonade community. Pop in, come hang out with us if you're not in there already. I schedule daily posts that are kind of like mindfulness awareness posts to check in with yourself and get curious. I love helping people get curious about their life, because that's how we foster growth. Look at kids, they learn the most when they're curious and they ask questions, right? So when we can turn that inward, that's when we learn more about ourselves and we start to expand and bring in the magic. The next event after tomorrow night will be our monthly class. It's on the Wim Hof method. It's going to be August 20th, Tuesday, August 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time inside the Living on Lemonade group. It will become a podcast episode, so if you can't join live, it'll be on the podcast after that. And then the following day, Wednesday, August 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern will be our second soul care hour of the month. I try to do one in the evening, one during the day, excuse me, to accommodate different time zones. So that's what's coming up in the Living on Lemonade world, the community. I have my course, Create Your Calm. It's like the foundation of what I was just talking about, topics, mindfulness, meditation, stress in the nervous system, burnout and resilience, attachment or like surrender, all things that if you're not familiar with those topics or it's something you want to explore, it's a 5 module course. It's self-study. It helps to lay the foundation of what I live. And what I teach. So this is the bread and butter for me, and everything kind of has built off of it. So I want to help people who want to start making those changes inside of their own life, to start becoming aware and curious of these things. And there's lots of tips and tools and practices. There's meditations for each module as well. It's a beautiful course. and that's available as well. So it's $111. It's lifetime access. And yeah, any questions, reach out to me. I hope everyone's doing well. If you need a hug, I'm sending you a hug and love. I hope you're having a lovely summer and you're finding ways to strike that balance so that you can enjoy it to the fullest. And yeah, take care, everyone. I will talk to you on the next episode. Bye.